Great.
I have to supplement because I can't eat that much meat.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
have to do like protein shakes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. And that's where we can get the little extra.
Oh yeah, and the 20-gram yogurt and cottage cheese and all that stuff.
Right, the Fairlife protein shakes,
Yeah.
yeah, protein powders we can put in smoothies, mix them in yogurt. Like there's a lot of little creative ways. What's up? Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of hard to track because, like, I'm looking at the grams, but then, like, I don't have a food scale, so, like, it's kind of hard to track the grams.
So we could, well, you're not going to track going forward, but we could get a food scale, or the other thing, and this is a deck of cards, about 4 grams or 4 ounces. 4 ounces. Thank you, Laura. 4 ounces of meat. So that's a good way to kind of eyeball it.
And about 25 grams.
About 25 grams.
Oh, grams. It's grams.
Great. So if we ask you now, moving forward, to recognize how much protein you had in your day and continue going without tracking, you could do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That was, yeah.
Distinction between lean proteins and fatty proteins, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
So like ghee is okay.
So ghee is going to be more fat
Right.
than anything else, right? Just talking about protein,
Okay.
the lean versus the fatties.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. What's up? Keith?
Why are you proscribing scaling, measuring?
So because like we said last time, people weren't getting enough protein, right? That's where we tend to fall short.
Doesn't a scale help that?
Yes, a scale would certainly help. If we got Neil a scale, then he would have been just fine with that.
So why are we not checking to make sure we're getting enough protein?
So the goal for the quick cut is you don't have to track anything, right? We just did these 2 weeks of prep to make sure we understood what that looked like. And so realistically, as we're going throughout life or we're eating out, things like that, we're not bringing our scale around, we're not doing all these things that we can't do just on a habitual basis. Yeah? Cool. Any other questions about proteins? Nope. Okay, so then how about our 800 grams of fruits and vegetables? You got that all week.
That's hard for me. That's hard.
That's so easy.
Okay, so it looks like a good amount of us. What was hard about it, Terry?
I can't figure out, and I probably didn't understand it very well. I would measure, and then my husband said, oh, that's this much fiber. That's what you're going for. And I said, wait a minute. I don't know if I'm going for weight, if I'm going for fiber, or what my grams are for. So I was confused on that.
Yeah. So this was just for grams, right? As understanding, and we
weight.
get weight is
The weight.
is the answer
Okay,
there. Yeah.
thank you.
We get fiber. We get lots of fiber in all of those things. So
Okay.
it's going to come along with it. But the 800 grams, there's studies and they did basically multi-studies on that. And the benefits of our 800 grams is that we get better longevity, better cardiovascular health. Like the results are numerous. So
Does it matter how tall you are, how short you are? It's 800 for a big guy
Yeah.
or a tiny.
800 across the board.
Interesting.
Yeah. What else was part of it? Margie, I think you said it was difficult.
I just normally don't eat them, so that's not my first go-to.
Okay.
So I'm forcing myself to
So
eat
you're
them.
getting used to
Yes.
understanding that. Okay.
Wow,
Yeah.
Margie, we all are.
And it,
Come on.
it's a lot of food, right?
I find it heavier.
Way to go, way to go.
And so I find 16
I know.
greens is 450 grams.
Right, right.
Half a day.
Yeah, so Dakota pointed out, our leafy greens are not as heavy as our other fruits and vegetables, right? You can have a whole bucket of spinach or whatever, and it's like 400 grams. Have our apple, 150 grams in itself, right?
Right.
Cucumbers, zucchinis, all those things that are a little heavier.
Like the small bags that say like 3 cups.
Right.
Which is that? Like
Of-
the individual salads.
Of like the salads. So that's where typically, maybe you know, Laura, the cups, it's more cups when we're looking at the leafy greens than we're looking
I
at
don't
the
know
other
what the
things.
ratio is for
Yeah.
Well, they usually say on the bag.
salad.
conversion rates.
Oh, I have to look at that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'll recognize, like we say 6 cups of your heavier, bulkier vegetables and fruits, but then the leafy greens just, it doesn't account the same.
Doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't even
Like a 20-pound bag.
Right. That's what you need. 20 pound bag.
It's under a horse.
Streets all the way
Yeah,
down
exactly.
to nothing.
Anyone else have issues getting there or questions on the 800 grams? Okay, so
Can I
yeah.
make a comment about?
We'll
Go
let
ahead.
Neil ask real quick.
How many grams does a grape have? Because I usually have a lot of grapes.
So the grapes we probably measure right on the scale again that we should get you. But also, like we said, 6 cups throughout the day would be about 800 grams of something like grapes or like and then
For people struggling with vegetables, especially, we want 800 grams with fruits and vegetables, but we also want you to enjoy what you're eating. So especially for people that don't normally eat vegetables, to start to eat vegetables, we don't want you to be eating like plain celery sticks and steamed broccoli and those types of things. This is part of a challenge to figure out how to make those foods enjoyable and delicious, and what do you need to pair them with. And so like my snack sometime during the day is carrots and celery and cucumbers, but I pair that with a yogurt dip that I make with the Knorr's spinach dip that we all love at holidays and parties. I use that seasoning and I add it to non-fat Greek yogurt. So I have a yummy dip that I can use in my vegetables, and so I enjoy it. I've also found that celery, I don't really like it, so I'm gonna get rid of the celery and I'm gonna choose another. Maybe I'll do zucchini. So you pair it with something and you look forward to actually eating it. It's not like, oh god, now I have to go have my vegetables.
And Laura, the yogurt then also gives you protein, correct?
Exactly, right? So I'm getting like 15 grams of protein, and I'm getting my 250 grams of veggies in a snack.
Does it, on the fruits and vegetables, what if you tend to be heavy on the fruits and not the vegetables? Is that?
I mean, it doesn't matter. We're not
It's
making
fine.
the
any.
sugary
Yep.
part doesn't matter.
We're not being
Yeah, I was
picky.
gonna ask if it's like
on this.
50-50
Yep.
or
No,
Wow.
whatever
no,
floats your boat.
no. And so remember, fruit and vegetables, but they have a lot of water, right? They have a lot of fiber, and they're nutrient dense. So, we don't want all 800 grams to come from fruit.
Yeah, right.
Right. We still
We
need
want
to
some
know.
vegetables.
Yes, want some vegetables, right.
And then we-
One of the things that I've learned that I really like when you're trying to like force yourself to eat more vegetables is like broccoli or Brussels sprouts or something that you can roast. I'll crush up some nuts like pecans or cashews or something. Like just crush them like a breading, like panko or something.
Sounds good.
And then put some yogurt on top of your. Well, that's not yogurt. Put some olive oil or butter with your veggies and put those nuts in there, and it's kind of like a little crunch with your veggie.
Yeah,
It's really good, and you can still have the nuts. So
yeah.
I don't know, just as a
Make it
suggestion.
yummy.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Instead of panko, which we can no longer have.
We're gonna talk about that. So everyone, you can recognize how much fruits and vegetables is about 800 grams, and continue that moving forward. Okay. Real quick before we jump into this, I wanted to address something that a couple of questions people have had on your scans. Specifically, some people say, "Hey, my muscle came down over the past week." Anybody recognize that when they look at their scans? Okay. So one of the big things, if we've already started cutting out our rice, our grains, our oats, anything that like we're going to cut out this week, right? But if you've already started doing that because you're eating more fruits and vegetables, those things that you cut out actually hold and retain more water. So our body, if you look on total body water, and we see that down, that's what's accounting for the muscles looking smaller. And they just don't have as much hydration in them. They don't appear as big on the scans. So if you're like, why did I lose a pound of muscle? Take a look at total body water and see if that lines up. Okay? If it doesn't, ask me and we'll take a look at it together. Cool. 5 to 6 workouts a week. Everyone Doing pretty good there. Okay, cool. Keep that up, right? 8 hours of sleep?
Yes. Oh, no.
Most of us, some of us? Okay.
7.
Let's 7. Okay.
7.5.
7.5, we're getting there.
I
Right?
like my average.
So make sure we're prioritizing sleep through all this too. That's gonna help with your recovery, it's gonna help with your stress levels, it's gonna help across the board. And then the other two things, we're continuing to cut down on your sugar, and then alcohol, continuing to cut down on that. Cool. Any questions? These are the last 2 weeks of prep, right? How everyone's good there? Okay. So this is where we actually get to. You've done all the prep. Now we're going to move into the cut part of things.
Okay.
I'll refer back to this one. So we've done this. We've done this. Now it's the part where we erase everything else. Okay.
What?
Surprise.
But what the heck? What kind of program is that?
Bill, you want to pass it around? So I'm going to pass out a handout that basically tells us about the do's and don'ts of the quick cut, right? So first we're going to cover the do's, right? And this is a lot of what you've already been doing.
Okay, good.
So number one, we want to hit our protein goals, right? In order to hit our protein goals, you can eat as much meat as you want, right? And then other sources of protein, we can have what we need to, what we want, as long as we have more grams of protein than carbs or fat.
Per meal or just during the day?
On the
For
food
each
label.
ingredient.
On the food label.
Each ingredient, yeah, and we'll talk more. So if we look here, right, we see our protein, 16 grams. Then we look here, total carbohydrates is 6 grams, right? So protein wins. We're good in that sense. Then we look at our protein compared to fat. So 16 grams, 0 grams. So we're good on both ends. We can eat this, right? This is Greek yogurt. So we kind of think of them as teams, right? Protein has to win against both carbohydrates and fat.
So it says, sorry, I missed this.
Yep.
6 grams of sugar.
So I want you just looking at protein, carbs, and fat, right? Sugar is included in your carbs.
So,
Can I make I need to make a clarification in regards to food labels and when it says total sugars and total added sugars. So total sugar, this is Greek yogurt, total sugars, that is the lactose that is in the milk that is in the yogurt. If there was added sugar in this yogurt, it would say added sugars because the label has changed. So they have to specify. See how it says 0 added sugars?
Yeah.
Right? But we're just looking at protein, carb, and fat. We're not looking at sugars. But just to clarify, that is you can eat that
Is that like
because that
plain?
sugar's from
That's
lactose,
plain.
not.
That's plain.
Yeah, that'd be
Not vanilla.
Right. When you get into all those variants,
I don't usually like it.
anytime we look at a food label and it says protein is higher than these other two numbers, it's on the list. We're okay.
what are you telling us to do? Even snacks, every time we put food in our body, make sure there's more protein than,
Than fats or carbs.
Or
So
any packaged food
any package.
that has
Yeah.
a food label.
So
I got it.
trickier example here. Let's say we had 16 grams of protein. We had 15 grams of fat and 15 grams of carbs. Are we allowed to eat it?
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's or. Yes. So protein won against both fats and carbs individually. Okay? So anything with the food label, make sure it fits into that category where protein is more than fats or carbs. Cool. Then I'm gonna skip this one for a second. As much fruits and vegetables as you want.
Wow.
Okay. So that includes, though, sometimes beans and corn. All those get bad rap. It's okay, right? Beans, potatoes, corn, olives, all of those things are in. Okay. Eat as much as you want of that.
The purple potatoes are okay too?
Those are fine. Yep.
Those
Any-
are better. That's what I
There you
Those
go.
are the
Anything
best.
that is a single ingredient that we're picking up from produce or something along those lines is in. Okay, as much as you want.
You can eat it.
And then nuts and seeds, as long as they don't have added sugars, they're also okay. Okay. And then this one goes back to our first one, but dairy, cheese, those things, we have to make sure we get more protein from it than carbs or fat. So I think the only milk source is probably Fairlife, right? It's got more protein than carbs or fat. Fat does.
Cheese would have to be low fat because regular
Yes.
cheese would
Exactly.
only be 6 grams of protein and the fat would be like 11.
Yeah.
So it would have to be low fat.
Cottage
And
cheese,
low-fat cottage
that'd be a
cheese,
great
yeah.
option.
Yep.
Yeah. Greek yogurt, like we've been talking about. I think Parmesan cheese fits in there too. So, and so with all this, what are we not eating? Right?
Everything else.
Everything else. So we're not having the added sugars that are not proteins higher than carbs or fat. Right? We're not adding in our sweeteners in our coffee, all of those things. They're not contributing to us. Okay? Alcohol, soda, sugary drinks, juice, and then of course don't eat anything that irritates your body. Right? Don't add anything that you know doesn't agree with you. So that'd be like if someone had a sensitivity to dairy and they're like, I'm gonna have Fairlife because it's got protein, right? Don't add something that you know is not agreeable for you.
But Fairlife is lactose free.
Yes, good point. But
That's not a good.
I'm sorry, yes.
No,
that-
no,
yeah.
no.
Cheese.
So cheese, right?
Yeah, like don't
Yeah.
go eat a piece of brie
Yes.
because you're
Well, you
like,
couldn't anyway, but yeah. So yeah, if you don't eat something because it irritates you, don't add it. That's the main point. Grains, breads, pastas are all out, right? Oatmeal's out.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment on that, just to clarify. So, this getting rid of grains, breads, and pasta does not mean that grains, bread, and pasta make you fat. I want to make that very clear. They do not make you fat. The reason we have to take out grains, breads, and pasta is that we are trying to get you guys to eat and not have to log and not have to measure, like to have the freedom of eating foods but still stay in a calorie deficit. Grains, breads, and pastas can very easily be overeaten. The portion sizes have to be regulated if we want to stay in a calorie deficit. So to be able to say, hey, we want you guys to eat with freedom, as much fruits and vegetables, as much protein, all those things, we have to take those out.
Right.
So I just want to make that clear. It's not because those make you fat.
That's helpful, thank you.
Right. So.
You know, not all breads are equal.
But we're not eating any bread, so it's fine.
No breads allowed.
No breads.
By the way, is gravy considered a vegetable? I'd ask.
It's its own food group.
Liquid.
Chris has got a question.
You're off the stage.
So, I mean, basically, as long as if it's a packaged thing, as long as protein is higher than carbs or fat, right? Sugar-free or
What if
not,
they're all
really, as
zero?
long as it matches that.
So if you make, like, if you're feeling exciting and you want to make your own bread, but you make it with like almond flour or a flour substitute, is that not?
That's not going to work. For
Nice try.
Yeah.
No bread.
No fried foods.
No bread.
Tend to have a lot of fat in there. And then sauces and dressings, make sure they don't have extra sugars. And
Okay, I've got another question here.
yes,
It's kind of related to bread.
there's no way around it.
There are breads that are made from seed.
If you can find a seed bread
That
has
has
more
more
I have a
protein,
source for two different kinds.
okay,
Look
that
at the
has
food
more
label.
protein
There
than
is no
carbs
food
or
label. It's
sugar
made
or
in
than
nice
fat.
bakery.
Isn't that a cracker?
It may be a cracker, but it's got to have protein more than carbs or fat, right? Anything goes if you can find that. Okay.
So seed bread is. I'm
If you can
hearing-
find it,
I'm hearing.
it's in.
seed
Find
bread
it.
is Okay.
No, you're not.
I know. Check the label.
You're hearing what you want to hear, but
I think this question makes sense, but is it per item or per meal?
Per item. That is a great question.
serving.
So you're looking at the whole, I mean, each individual item in a meal. Okay? It's not the meal as a whole, because we could build that infinite ways,
exactly.
right?
Okay.
So it's each individual piece of that. So number one, when we're cutting out all these things, we're going to be hungrier. Eat more, right? Eat as much fruits. If you're hungry, don't just starve. Have your food, right? Have the things that are on the plan. You're going to need more snacks hanging out, but just make sure they're the right ones. Cool. And if you're like, I am really craving something sugary, find a protein bar that fits into there, right? Find something that fits into there, or go to sleep, brush your teeth, right? Just cut off the crazy
Go to
fat.
bed, yeah, go to bed.
And we tried to avoid that by having you guys cut down your sugar throughout the couple weeks. So, yeah.
Just for Keith,
Thank you.
these cauliflower slims at
Okay.
Trader Joe's,
Mm-hmm.
I think would be okay because it's 5 grams of fat, 3 grams of carbs, and 9 grams of protein.
What do we say, guys?
Is that bread or is that?
They're slims, so if you put them in the toaster, you can use it like bread. You could.
So
put a
just looking at the
sandwich in there.
label,
Yes.
what do we
Yeah.
just say?
Yeah.
So you can have that.
Yeah.
Oh,
The vegetables.
There you go.
You may have saved.
I would toast them, though they don't taste good if you
Yeah.
don't
We're
toast
big
them.
bread guys.
Um, So the other big thing with this, right, is it's a big change, right? We want to use this to problem solve, right? To recognize, okay, this is what I've been doing, this is what I'm doing now, and find ways like the cauliflower crisp. Find things that we can problem solve and stay within those boundaries to get results. Okay?
How are we dealing with butter and oils and
Right.
that type of?
So we can cook with them, right? You can put some olive oil in your salad or veggies or whatever. We don't want to have exorbitant amounts, right? Like, if we're having a steak, don't put a ton of butter on there, right? Cook it in butter, is what we want, but yeah.
Salad dressings are out.
Salad dressings, as long as they are just, they don't have a whole bunch of extra ingredients, right? The added sugars, we don't want those. Yeah. And there's something I was gonna say. I don't remember. Any other questions? Right, you've got your cheat sheets. So that's what we're doing over these next couple weeks.
So you're encouraging us to cheat.
Any questions though, you can text us, ask us, pull us aside.
I really like
Yeah. We'll talk on the side. The other thing, this is it. No more tracking, right? Put your MyFitnessPals away, put the scales away. You've done the last 2 weeks to understand what your protein and what your fruits and vegetables looks like. That's where we're going on. Okay? So no tracking other than getting a scan. Cool?
So lots of
You went over there.